And review a little bit about Boise State game. First of all, I thought they played really well. Um, you know, we had a hard time getting off the field, and we were 1 for 9 in contested plays with our catches, and we had people there. But nonetheless, they made some plays. I thought some great plays. Our third down conversion rate on offense was abysmal, and that started with a really inefficient first down. I think the crowd noise had an effect. We operated on silent count, and then that, caused some problems. We worked with crowd noise all week long, but nonetheless, I don't think we handled it very well. Boise State was raring, ready to play, and we were not. I think I talked about that afterwards, and, the million-dollar question is why? And one of the things I guess I would say is that we have been successful because we have really, I think, utilized the potential that we have, and we played with the chip on our shoulder in most of our games. And this game, maybe, I don't want to say maybe we read our press clippings or looked too far ahead. I certainly, as a coaching staff, we didn't see any of those things coming with how we practiced. But nonetheless, that's the facts. And I addressed it yesterday with our team. I was really disappointed, but it's a loss, and we've got to move on. Colorado State, I think, is an excellent team, but, I've coached long enough sometimes. Lou Holtz once said that you bring a different football team to a stadium every Saturday. I don't believe everything Coach Holtz says. I can imitate him fairly well, so can Coach Sorvell, but there's some truth to that, but nonetheless, it's unacceptable, and now we need to move forward. And if we sit around and have a big pity party and keep on commiserating, we're going to get beat. This team we're playing, I know they're 3-5. I'm perplexed about that. They lost a couple close games. They won a couple close games. They're our biggest rival. That's not an overstatement. It's a big game for our program and for our fan base and for the state. Their offense is dynamic with the passing game. Feller Nicolasi, I think, is an excellent quarterback. I know they changed quarterbacks, but they're averaging 310 yards per passing, and one of the top passing teams in the country. You got a stable of receivers, led by Horton and Holker, tight end. Over on defense, they've got an imposing defensive front led by number 8, who's a mid-season All-American candidate, Kamara. He's really disruptive. And then Jake Howell, as you guys all know, Howell's been playing there for many years and is a good player in the back end. Coach Norvell does a nice job. I consider Coach Norvell a friend. I know that doesn't sit well with probably people that think you got to despise and hate your enemy, but Coach Norvell, I coached his brother many years ago, knew his father, and Coach Norvell's doing a good job leading that program. We're excited about playing him. It's going to be a Friday, so like I said, today's a Tuesday. We did exit the Boise State game, I think, healthy. When I say that, there were some bumps and bruises. Certainly, our ego was hurt. But physically, we'll have all our players back. Doesn't mean that they're going to be, feeling exactly great game time, but they're all going to be available. So we're excited about that, which is unique for being at this time of the year. So that's questions right now. Yeah, Cody?
Would you change anything about the bye week at all, Craig? And did you like the effort after watching film?
Well, you know what? I commiserated about that a great deal because I looked and we gave them more time off than we normally have. I felt like that was going to be important. I don't necessarily know if we would have changed a lot with our practice routine. I think what I failed to do, Cody, was really express to our team the type of opponent that we were going to be playing. I think our players might have looked and said, okay, you know what, they've got a losing record. They're not like Boise. This is our chance. We're going to whoop up on them. And I knew enough that they were going to come in and be like a caged animal and play really relentless and hard and aggressive. And I failed to get that across. So I don't necessarily think I would have changed the practice routine, but I probably should have spent more time going through and really emphasizing that they have really good players who are heavily recruited, who have not played well, and they just lost a game that they never should have lost. And most of the time, Cody, we talk about our mentality, where our mentality should have been one of, okay, we're getting ready to play Texas Tech, and we got a chip on our shoulder, and man, if we don't bring our A game, we're going to get embarrassed. They weren't ready. And, it's easy I mean, like I said, I failed to get our football team ready. And so we can't do anything about that. We got to move on. But that's what I would have done differently. I don't think we would have done inside run more or anything else. We had a really spirited Tuesday practice, but we were not ready to go. And credit Coach Avalos. And I've been in his shoes. I mean, I'm sure he walked in, he's at home. They got a good crowd. They lost a game that they never should have lost, and that's going to bring about a certain reaction. And our guys, we got took to the woodshed, and we weren't ready for it.
Craig, if Horton plays, how key will it be to avoid a line drive punt and also for your cornerbacks to bounce back?
Well, beyond the cornerbacks, they place him at different places. I mean, they've moved him around. He's even been in the backfield. So beyond the matchup against the corners, he's a dynamic player. Obviously, you saw how he returned a punt against us last year. And I don't know his status. I know he didn't finish the Air Force game. I also know, and I know his family. I was sitting in their home, living room, tried to recruit his brother, and they got a great athletic family. And I would be shocked if he doesn't play against us, and I think he'll muster up whatever ails him and be ready to go. So we need to be ready to go.
Craig, I think, Andrew, a couple of those sacks could be coverage sacks in that Boise State game. And how important is it for these wide receivers and tight ends to start creating more separation kind of going forward?
Well, it all goes hand in glove. There were times that we had time, and then there were other times that we didn't. And so to Andrew to get in a rhythm, he never was comfortable where you've seen him be comfortable before. Some things got sped up. Some things he held the ball a little bit too long. There was some breakdown in protections. They zero blitzed, which they had not shown. He got hit a lot. He's a warrior, but he's got to get in sync, and our receivers need to, as you say, they need to separate. We had some separation, but the windows were not near as profound as what they were against Air Force. They did a good job game planning us, and I know Colorado State's defensive coordinator, a guy named Freddie Banks, had played for me when I was at NDSU, and Adam Pilpul played linebacker here. So they know a lot about us, and I'm sure Freddie's going to have that crew ready to go.
I know you don't control your own destiny anymore, Craig, per se, but do you still see belief in this program and how, or in this team and how it's practiced?
You know what, Cody?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't play well, and everybody owns that. And you know what? That was, a bad game, and we have got to move forward, which we have started. We sacked that yesterday. Our coaches were in. I mean, all the tape was graded by the time we landed, and we were in bright and early yesterday. Yesterday we grinded, and we watched the tape, and then we closed that chapter. I brought out the boot, talked to our team about, the importance of this trophy and the importance of rivalry, and we flipped the page and we moved on because I know I'm a seasoned football coach well enough. If you keep on, if you look out too far out there in front of you and you take your eye off the opponent and you start thinking about, okay, we're in position if we do this and this bowl game and conference championship, that only comes about by beating Boise State. Well, we didn't do it. And we can't do anything about that now. We damn sure got to do something about Colorado State. So, yes, I have great belief that they're a great group. We didn't play well, and I didn't coach well.
Craig, I'm sure having Marty English on the staff helped give the guys perspective for years on this rivalry.
Yeah.
What's it like to have Brian Hendricks?
It's been great, and he'll address the team. I've talked to him about that. And he, Brian is a Colorado native. His dad played at CSU, and Brian was here and has a great deal of appreciation for our traditions. And so, it was great to have Marty here, but I can tell you Brian is a player. And when you're a player that's worn this uniform, that's a heck of a lot different than a coach. And so we've got a great resource there.
Craig, how special was that moment in last year's border war with Jaden Clemens hitting Alex Brown on that touchdown?
Well, beyond being special, it won the game, I mean, it was great to see Alex come up with a contested play. There was a lot that went into, Clemens coming in there off the bench after, Andrew received the concussion. And so, it was a big time play. Yep. And I can go through the years. I mean, this is going to be my 10th year. And, even though the very beginning ones seem like a far off, time, I can still recall, some of those games. And then as each year went through, I can recall some of the great plays. That's a historic game, and it's a real privilege to have a chance to coach in it.
You're coming off, obviously Boise State was a highly emotional game going in, ended in an emotional low, and now you're going into another high emotion game, even probably even more emotional with the rivalry and the history.
Yeah.
How are you and your staff kind of managing the emotions of the team?
Yeah, you know what? You have young people, and they're 18 to 22, and how they see the world and what's going on. That comes down to constant communication with them, a belief and a trust, and that needs to be reciprocated. Like I said, we addressed our shortcomings in the Boise game, and I was real explicit with the men in this room yesterday on what I saw, and then we booked it. And we said, okay, now turn the page, because Colorado State doesn't care that we got our butts kicked. And I told our team, I said, we just got taken to the woodshed by a team that beat them. So we better get our stingers up and quit feeling sorry for ourselves and believe in what the coaches are doing and, lick our wounds and get moving around. I thought we had, the lift went well and our players moved around well. I did not see remnants of, a hangover. But I need to caution that is I did not see a train wreck coming. I saw what I thought was going to be a really, really good opponent. I did not see us perform the way we did. That was not. We've made too many steps. We looked somewhat like we used to look, and that's got to get done. We can't. We need to start fast. We need to finish strong. We need to tackle all the things that were, we're deficient. That's got to change. It's got to change in a hurry.
You started talking about it a little bit, Craig. Do you have a favorite memory from this game, CSU game?
It's difficult to say, but you just go through I can remember I think we did I think it was in this game we did the little not fumble or rooski, but we had Austin Conway held the ball and ran around the end, or Josh Allen playing great. Yeah, there's unbelievable memories. And our former players always remember. That's what I tried to instill to our players who've not played in this game. There's a lot of guys sitting in this chair, these chairs that hadn't played in this game. We have a couple transfers. There's a couple guys who are on the scout team then. And I talked about the gravity of the moment, the exhilarating feeling when you grab the boot, and the pain of regret when you see the other team grab the boot. I mean, it's profound.
Can you speak a little bit about what it means to be in such a historical game? What it means to the state and college football.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for our school, our former players, to the state of Wyoming, and these are the things that make college football special. I've heard there's some debate whether it's the longest running rivalry west of the Mississippi. I think Oregon and Oregon State, maybe it's a neck and neck, or I don't know. Maybe you would know, Ryan. It's been a long game. I mean, a long, long tradition of a lot of great games. And so these are games that really give you a sense of a privilege to have a chance to be in. And then the moment, once you get out there, one time an official came up and said, "Are you nervous?" "No, I'm not nervous. This is what you live for, get in the middle of this one."
I think a matchup of the night that not a lot of people outside of this sphere will be talking about is the potential of Mo Camara and Frank Crum. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, he's a great player, and so is Frank. And so you got really good players. And when you play in these games, your big-time players need to really excel. Just like I said, Josh excelled, or, Jaden excelled last year. Andrew Wingert or Marcus Epps. I mean, the list goes on and on. These guys, this is your time to shine. And the moment has to be such that it's not too big for you, that you go out and you seize the moment.
Speaking of Frank Crum, he said that he met his fiance at the 2018 game by looking at a pretty girl in the front row. I imagine you probably weren't crazy about hearing that.
I was not even aware of that. Thanks for bringing that up, Cody. Yeah, I did know that he's engaged and she's wearing brown and gold. I know that.
Craig, the hot topic in your sport is sign stealing.
The what?
Sign
Yeah,
stealing.
yeah.
How common is it in the Mountain West? And like when Boise's a step ahead, do you ever suspect they might have a lead on?
We try to do things to neutralize that, and I've usually got a pretty good beat since I'm not calling. As far as how that's all transpired. I do think the NCAA is taking a hard look with the competition committee and the rules committee changing the coach-to-player communication, whether it's wearables or helmet technology. I think that's a step we need to go. But what is going on, let's just be real clear. It's not unethical or against the rules for you to be standing on the sideline and looking at the opponent's. That's fair game. And so, how we disguise that comes down to how creative that we need to be. You certainly need to be able to communicate. You don't want to make things so cumbersome that you screw your own self. But we can't be naive enough to believe people. I mean, you look at, we don't do the hoods and the signs and the sheets where you can't see. I know they do that. I think change is coming, and I think change is warranted. I do believe this is I have a great deal of respect for every head coach in our league. Our head coaches operate with integrity, and they operate within not only the rules but the spirit of the rules. And so from a standpoint of me feeling like they're doing something that is unethical or illegal, I don't feel like that. It's part of the gamemanship of this game. And you're right, it's a hot topic. I'm a defensive coordinator at heart, and I know this, if I know your play, people are saying, Bob Stoops and I see the world the same way. We're about the same age. And, some people say, well, it's not that big a deal. Coach Saban says that. Well, I think it's a big deal. If I know a reverse is coming, and I'm going to come up with a blitz off the edge saying, so that's my perspective. It's a hot topic. Yeah.
Fowler Nicolosi, a young kid,
Yeah.
seems like a little bit of a gunslinger. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think he's a really good player. I know they made a change, and his numbers are impressive. And I wouldn't say, I can appreciate you saying a gunslinger. I think he has a great deal of confidence. He's got a strong arm. He can make a lot of different throws. Coach Norvell is really experienced in the air raid, and Coach Mummy, obviously the heritage with his father. All those things make it a challenge, and the quarterback can make a big impact. We've got to get him out of his comfort zone, got to get him off his spot. And teams that do that have success, and teams that don't have a hard time.
Did you think you'd have more, I know you were so high on Sebastian Harsh and still are, but did you think
Sebastian Harsh played the best of all our defensive ends last week. He's answering the bell. So I'm prefacing that. So as you start going down a question here, I just like to hear what your question is.
Yeah, did you expect to have more quarterback sacks, more quarterback pressures this season to this point?
Well, possibly a little bit, I think some of it came, we thought last week we'd get a lot more because Devon's healthy. Braden Sider's now healthy. Sebastian's healthy. Sebastian is having a productive season. The other guys around there need to improve. But yeah, you're right. And we've been able to pressure with backers before. Shea has had some pressure. We just have not been able to get after the quarterback like we have, and we'll need to this week, Cody.
Well, what's y'all's plan to, kind of limit that big playmaking trio of Fowler, Nicolosi, Dallin Holker, and Torrey Horton?
What do we phrase that again?
Let me retry. So what's the plan to limit the big plays from Fowler, Nicolosi, Holker?
Well,
and Horton?
I think first of all, we got to keep the ball up in front of us. We got to win contested matches. The first play or the first touchdown, they threw a fade on Colby, and he was there, but it was that. We talk about that 2%, the last scrape and stuff like that. He was not able to get done. We need to be able to do that. They'll press the ball downfield some, but I think the biggest thing is not let them get comfortable. If they're in a rhythm and it's a passing game, passing games are built on rhythm, timing, and tempo. If you can run the ball, you can run the ball when there's 6 inches of snow on the ground, if the turf is hard as a rock, if you're playing out in the parking lot. When you're passing the ball, it's about timing, tempo, and we've got to take them out of that rhythm. That's going to be our secret, and that'll prevent the explosive plays.
Were you shocked at all to see, obviously 27 rushing yards is stunning, but what do you?
Well, I
attribute
know
that?
let me attribute it to this. Our first down efficiency was terrible. So you start out and you pop a draw, and then you get called for holding. So then what do? And then we began to press, and then our running game, when we did try it, was ineffective. I thought they did a nice job. That their defensive line was more explosive than what we thought. They were able to come off the ball and shed some blocks. And so then we went away from the running game. But the biggest thing was we were just in the first down efficiencies, either through penalties or miscommunication, then cause us to, okay, now we're chasing points. And that's not us, guys. I'm not giving anything away in the game plan, but we go out there, and if we're looking at a whole long listing of third down where you got third down and 12, a bunch, now we can do some, but a bunch, Cowboys aren't made for that. And so this is where we need to be able to run the ball more and be more effective. And, yeah, it was disheartening for me. I'm looking up on the board, and I challenged our offense yesterday. I said, hey, what is 27 yards rushing? Now, some of that had to do with the sacks, which that attributes to how collegiate stats are done. But, yeah, it's embarrassing. And our offensive line was unhappy about it. I was unhappy about it. Coach Polasek was unhappy about it, and we got to be able to run the ball better. And, and that's going to allow us to throw the ball better, because now all of a sudden you're at, maybe you're not in third down and 12. Now you're in third down and 4. Now you have a chance to play action pass and all these other things. And that's the wheelhouse we need to be in. So, yeah, you know what? You guys got me in a pretty good time after the game. I thought I held my tongue pretty good, but it was hard. It was a hard deal. But that's part of being a head coach, and you're going to have days like this, and you better figure out a way to bounce back. And then also look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I missed. I didn't do a good enough job here. So this is Tuesday today. It's Bloody Tuesday, by the way.